Hello. How's everyone doing? Thank you for joining. I know it's a late night. We don't do many late nights anymore, but thank you. I see a few of you here. Oh my, I see some people that I haven't seen in a while. IG, hola, sister, hermana. So glad to see you. Molly's here. Molly was in our watch party. IG, you're here. Nice to see you. Who else? Jamie's here. Courtney. Hey, Courtney. Tina, I think I saw you. Were you watching the movie with us? You watched They Clone? Okay, Courtney watched it. And Allison, oh my gosh. Allison, thank you. You're only here for a brief moment. Good, but it's so nice to see you, Allison. Thank you. Wonderful. I want to jump right in. Hey, Ray Love, did you make it? Oh, yeah, you were there. Fox on. Yes. Awards winning. Hey, Bryant. Sunny Day. Hello, Sheila. Awards winning. Yes. Okay. Second time, Ray Love. Let me I think Karen's in the background. Let her come up. Karen. Let me add you to doing this on my phone. Karen, hey God's child, how are you?
Greetings, my sister. How are you?
Greetings. I'm doing well. Thank you for joining on this last minute late night. Hoping Girl Code will be here shortly. So thank you. What did you think about the movie? It's so much, I mean, so many words, I'm sure, but right off the bat, would you say this was a good movie? Well done. What's your first thoughts?
It's a movie that needs to be seen, and because it has its point of view. It has its point of view. It's a movie that needs to be seen. You know, Girl Code made a statement. It's a lot of satire, like that, real, like, like overly dramatic satire. But sometimes they use that satire to express certain things in depth. But um, oh, how was it's like a piece of myself feel like I've lived this movie.
Really? That's interesting. Oh, Allison is wanting to know what movie. Allison, we were just watching before this live stream, They Clone Tyrone. You know the movie with Jamie Foxx? So many weird things surrounding this movie. I thought it would be nice. Karen had an idea to watch it together, so we did, and we did it on Discord because because of copyright, everything. It's hard to see a movie like that together. But how did you think that worked out on Discord? Was that pretty good?
It was pretty good. I mean, maybe the sound could have been a little louder, or maybe we just have to listen to it with headphones. But it was
Oh,
pretty good. It
okay.
was
So
pretty
the
good. I
sound,
mean, for the first shot out, I mean,
yeah. Well, I'm glad that you worked out the sound. Hey, Nikki, how you doing? Welcome, welcome. Hadn't seen you in a while. I haven't done a live stream in a while, but yes. So Allison says, was he set up to expose the jabs? Good question. That's a really good question. What do you think about that question, Karen?
Oh,
Was Jamie Foxx set up to expose the jabs? Oh, I heard we can't say jabs on this platform.
um,
The pokey pokes, the Fauci pokes. Was he set up to expose it? That's really good, Allison. Makes you think.
yeah, I definitely think of him, Jamie Foxx, along with others, like as a part of the movie. It's a part of the. You get of now we at the part where they're letting certain information out, and they have to go in other places to open up people's minds to 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 understand, you know, the what is a part of the is a part of the plan.
Okay. Yes, that does make you think that way. Yeah, Allison saying we are in a movie, and a lot of people have said that. We're in a movie. It's repeated a lot, and it's repeated by, well, in different ways. Some people talk about a simulation theory, and all of that begins to, I don't know, it's all on the table for discussion. IG says, guys, that don't even effing look like Jamie. Like
Right.
Fox, we know he go.
But it
I
is
heard
a
a lot of
movie
people say
though.
IG, they don't think he looks well. It's a lot of weird things around him. But I want to break down this movie, and I want to talk about, I took notes because it was so, the managers has a few things to say too. I took a few notes and compare them with what you're, okay. Sheila is saying all of this might be setting the scene for disclosure. So you're thinking the same thing. Yes. Yeah. For disclosure. It's a lot of disclosure going on right now. So what you're saying, Karen, you and Girl Code were talking about the satire.
She made
And
a statement to me about the satire. Yeah.
yeah, that's really what I mean. The movie was over the top. You could see the parody. It was, they used the N word so much. My goodness, I was like, that was like, okay, I could see a few
Jay,
N words sprinkled here and there, but it was just
wait.
over the top.
Girl Coach trying to get in. She says she's
Oh, wait a
backstage.
minute, Girl Code's here, y'all. One moment, let me get her in here. Yes, all right. I'm doing this from my phone right now, so it's working out pretty good, huh? Girl Code, welcome, welcome. How you doing?
Hi, my sisters. Thank you, Karen.
You welcome, my
Yeah,
sister.
welcome. So, Karen and I were just talking about, just a few things in terms of this movie. What was your opinion on the movie? What did you think of it? Just right off the.
Right. I had just chimed, I just got on as you guys were talking, and the same thing you said, because I had mentioned to Karen, because we were like, well, I was really like really bugging her through the whole movie every time I would like see something. But it was like oversaturated with vulgarity, so it kind of had me it was so over the top that I thought that it was kind of purpose. It was on purpose. So it made, because it wanted you to really lose focus. So I kept trying to get that refocus again.
Okay.
Um, even for, people like us who kind of hear the N word used really loosely, in the friendship circles and that sort of thing, even for people like us who grew up hearing it, and, who sometimes continue to hear it, it was a lot. It was a lot. But there were some very strong messages. And so, I did start to enjoy the movie as it went on. As it got to that mid to late point.
Okay, good. Hey, Dom, welcome, Dom. Nice to see you here. Peace and love to you. And I see Sean's here. Sean, how you doing, Sean? Thanks for showing up. So yeah, okay. That that is a real good point that you're making, girl code, with the N word. Okay, we're not going to act shy. I don't like to walk on eggshells when it comes to those taboo topics. Now, the N word, my family uses it a lot. Okay, I'm just going to say it's used a lot. I've been around it a lot. Friends, family, whatever. It's flown out of my mouth. I'm not going to act like I haven't used it. I don't use it on a regular, but it was, as they say, it was very it was just over the top, and it reminded me of the black exploitation movies of the 70s. It had that kind of feel to it. What did you all think about that?
Yeah, like that. I'ma get you, sucker. Remember, I'ma get you, sucker.
Yep, that's, yeah, it had that kind of, yeah, that parody, that satire, like you were saying, girl code. And I like what you said, girl code, about the way they use the N word so much. It was just so shocking, but it got you off focus of the heavier topics. So I see what you're saying. Like, it was used probably as a device to do that. Like, I felt like the movie played with my head in terms of the timeline, because, like, the cars, the technology, the hairstyles, the fashion, it was off. It was different timelines converged into one. What did you think about
Mhm.
that?
Mhm. I
Hey,
agree. I agree.
did you agree? Because I mean, I didn't know what year we were supposed to be in the universe of the Glen. It was just
Right.
all of them were merging. The cars were of the 70s. Didn't they seem like Pontiacs from the 1970s? Then the pimp had on like clothes from the 70s, which is typical in movies like that. You'll see the pimps dressed a certain way. But the hairstyles, since we know about hairstyles, the new hair with the natural look, that the main character Fontaine had, it didn't go along with the timeline of the cars and the tech. They had flip phones and beeper stores. It was weird.
Right. But I think they put us in that timeline because maybe this is when some of these projects started heavily.
Oh, that's a good
Like,
point.
like,
Right.
remember in the past I made a statement about social behavior projects that the government like have like, all right, how do I put it? Have you noticed like there's certain people that just like you met growing up, just coming up, like they're like main characters, and then some people they were a part of your life, like growing up in school. There's some people they were in your class, but you will never remember. And then there's some people you will like, and that happens in different stages of your life. Like, it's like, what are they? Are they non-playing characters? Why do certain people like fully stand out? Why do and they're showing like the same archetype but cloned so many times. So it's like, for me, some of the things like I seen and lived. You get me?
Hmm.
Growing up in the hood and certain things,
Mhm.
and it's like wow,
Yes. Mhm. I
like
agree.
so there's archetypes, and it's like a life and death. Because I'm seeing it as like a clone has to be cloned from an archetype, right? So
Hmm.
does the archetype change within the timeline, which we know is not a timeline, but it's their timeline where they dictate everything within the constructs?
Hmm. What do you
Interesting.
What do you think, girl,
Interesting.
about that?
You know, it's ironic that you say that, Karen, because there was a time at the beginning of the summer where I was sharing with Jen all these experiences that I was having. And I think I would call them just kind of like an elevation of the dimensions, if you will. And I had taken a trip back to the hood where I, grew up at, which, we would call them the bricks, you know what I'm saying? The projects. And I had explained to her that I was taken and I had saw these people that were downstairs in the basement. Now, for those people who are not aware, when you go into projects, and think about the word itself, project, right? It's a
Right.
project, right?
Brick
Experiment.
wall. It's the brick wall. It's the brick
That's
wall right there.
absolutely, absolutely. When you go into the projects, you generally go down a small flight of stairs. Everything is cement. You see the fallout shelter signs, from the 70s and that sort of thing. And you get a series of doors that you have never been inside of. Okay. And generally, these doors have crisscross bars over them. So you never see anyone come in, you never see anyone go out. However, you do have a few doors that, you may see the maintenance men go in and, get their mop and that sort of thing. Well, I explained all of that because I was taken back there to see who actually was behind those doors, right? And what I saw was a bunch of gentlemen. They had like the old school khaki pants on with the thick glasses. And it was, I'm not trying to fat shame or nothing, but it was these really huge women, which I now know to be, like women Shriners. Okay. They were from, I had told Jen about the letters that I seen them. Then when I looked them up, they were like from the North American, like Shriners Association. Um, and these women were manning the power and everything. And on the screens of all these gentlemen were the families that lived in there. And at that point, they were focused in on my family because I know that I wasn't having that experience to just kind of look at everyone else. And this one lady, she was going off, okay, because in the projects, you have to get your mail, and I'm getting ready to end it, but this movie reminded me so much of this. You have to get your mail from one particular building. So you have people that are manning your mail, okay? So you go to a mailbox and people are distributing your mail. They can keep whatever they want to keep and give you whatever they want to give you. So I was seeing an experience where my mother was moving out of the projects and they were pissed off about it. Okay. They didn't know how the correspondence were getting to her. They were getting in trouble by these women. These women were calling them all sorts of names. And this was very real. These people were literally watching everything that we did in other families as well. And I believe that to be a very real thing that has happened back then. I don't know too much about now because now I just feel like, they kind of knock them down and build up these ready to go apartment buildings in 2 weeks. But it reminded me very much of the 70s and the 80s because of that experience. Now, had I not had that experience, I would have never thought about those doors that I never went inside of. I would have never thought about those windows that were boarded up from the outside, those basement windows that I could never see inside. And they left from the bottom. So that's around the time when they started building the trains and stuff like that, the subways. So they would kind of come and go through those ways.
That's deep that you say that about the basements and the doors, right? Because as you know, I'm from New York City. I grew up in the projects, but I also worked for New York City Housing Authority. I was a shop steward and a safety coordinator. So I was privileged to see maps of certain developments, go into certain basements, certain areas. You notice all of them have letters. They're lined up like they know by window. And some of these basements go under sub levels, and there's energies you feel when you down in these basements too. There's like sounds you hear. Like if you by yourself doing a compactor, I've known people to be like, yo, I feel like something watching me. I hear something talking. So I can validate what you're saying, girl code, in the aspect of what you've seen, because I've had people tell me that as a coworker, as a shop steward, why they can't work in that building, why they can't be in that basement by themselves. I felt certain energies and certain things, and I've seen it's sub levels. Like some of the developments, you could go from like the down level, like by the sewer, to the other side of the developments.
Facts, facts.
There's
And
room.
mhm, mhm.
That's. I'm just validating. Yeah, that's true. That dream is deep. They showing you something.
Absolutely. And I had lots of them that way. So to bridge a gap between they cloned Tyrone and the time frame, and I think that we were getting a mix of everything, sort of like the movie Us. It's almost as if the underground was a part of what was happening in the now. Okay, like underground was this now sort of thing, where they were actually orchestrating above, on the surface, if you will. They were kind of orchestrating the atmosphere in which they wanted to provide, or wanted the people to have, because when we think about pimps and we think about hoes, you know what I'm saying? We think of 80s, you know what I'm saying? We think of the 80s, right? And think about it. How did big cities like Chicago, how did big cities like Philly, New York, Boston, why is it that all the hoes and pimps was always posted up in certain parts of downtown? Why were they always wearing certain, you know what I mean, clothes and
Attire.
hats? Right.
Yeah.
So, all of these things are strategically placed. You know what I mean? And I think that they were actually creating the atmosphere in which we're in now, but for it to be that way, because they can program the people to feel a certain way, to think a certain way, to not think a certain way. So, they wanted that atmosphere. They wanted, the black woman to prostitute herself, right? They wanted, they wanted what was happening to be happening. So it is kind of like one of those things where, we could actually really think deep on it, because it's like, damn, was it back then? Is it now? And they just stuck back then? Like, are they like, you know what I mean? So it really is one of them things that, it is intriguing, and it's great to come to the table and discuss, what we all might think could have been happening in that time frame.
Jen, your mic is off.
You're muted, sissy. She's so cute. She's all inquisitive, like, huh? We can't hear you.
Right? You can't hear her, right?
No.
But girl code, it's interesting you say that, because
Yeah.
growing up, you ever had a couple of people went away, got incarcerated,
Mhm.
and they come back bugged out, or they don't come back the same person, like something
Absolutely.
awful.
Absolutely. As I was just saying, maybe Jen's doing her technical difficulty. If when you unmute, sis, you can start talking. We'll stop talking, but we're just keeping your show going for now. Well, the show going. Um, yeah, it's interesting because I talk to Jen a lot about recall. Those people who do not have a memory, even people like myself. Lots of times people that I went to school with, they'll ask me about all of my children. I mean, by name, social security number, not by social, but I'm going there. You know what I mean? I mean, blood type, like, they really know their names and everything about them. And I look at these people and I do not remember them at all. Like I don't have a recall on who they are. And a lot of the times I'll talk to people that I really remember and they don't remember me either. So, a lot of the times we don't believe, because we are higher conscious having beings, we don't believe that our recall, our memory and our brain can be dealt with and manipulated, but it can. And the reason why I know that, because I always used to think, well, that's everybody else, that could never happen to me. And I'll just tell you what made another thing that made me think of this movie and how I know it to be a fact that it can happen to me, and it did happen, is because check this out, Karen. One night, this is during COVID, right? I'm driving the bus, and this is when the bus was all, free and everything, late at night, okay? And somebody who lived outside, had gotten on the bus. He talks to himself, you know what I mean, just kind of rides the bus to the end and back. I have nothing against them people. In fact, I always try to say a kind word to people, but he's not one of them people that is really sociable. But he gets on the bus and he sits towards the front, and I say to myself, I don't say out loud, I say to myself, wow, it would be so interesting to talk to him, to see who he's talking to or who's speaking to him. Because I find that to be intriguing when people are like, I'm not going to say talking to themselves. They're talking to someone. And I find that intriguing about when I see people who are, labeled having schizophrenia or off their rockets, if you will. Right. So I thought that to myself, wow, that'd be interesting if I could ever have a conversation with him. He busted out laughing. Okay. Yeah, right. She doesn't find me interesting. Somebody had told him what I thought in that moment very quickly. And I don't know if it's because of the technology that was on the bus. And as you all know, that's why I had taken a leave for so long, because I was experiencing excessive headaches with that bus and all the tech. But I'll tell you, my thoughts were transferred, or I don't know if my thoughts were transferred to him or if somebody told him what I thought about him that quick.
Wow. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you. Yep, it's a little spicy, but we can hear you.
You
That's
can?
Jennifer. Oh,
Is
Is
it
that
back? The sound is back? Okay, good. I had to refresh my thing. I'm using my phone this time, so it's a little different.
Sissy? You sound like a goddamn. You sound like your avatar lady.
Are
You're
you
so
serious? What? Does it have a weird sound to it?
where I gotta mute.
Do they like a robot voice?
yup, it has a robot voice.
You're
Yes, it
so
does.
cute.
Robot.
Hi, Molly. You are so cute, Sissy. I like your robot voice. You can have any voice you want to, baby. I love my sister.
Oh my god,
Yo,
it's really
uh,
gosh. Okay,
Karen, you so stupid.
I'm gonna
yo,
refresh.
right.
It
You
has
said,
okay. I'm gonna I'm gonna refresh again. What are
Oh,
they doing? I thought it would be better.
go ahead and refresh, Sissy. We'll be here when you get back.
we
She's so
definitely,
cute.
we definitely will, girl code, right?
Yeah,
You
she's
said,
so adorable.
right, girl, you said you could sell however you want.
Yeah, that's
Fat,
my Sissy.
fat,
Shoot, there she
fat,
goes. Yeah, she's gonna
fat.
come in. It'll be on point this time.
Okay, I'm back. I
Oh, baby, you are back.
is that better? Is that
Way
better?
She
better.
back. She back. Ah, oh,
Wait a minute. Molly said
Right.
I turned into the AI,
That was so cute.
into my avatar, huh? Oh, that was weird. They
Hmm.
messed with me. Okay. So anyway, thank you. Oh, I wanted to say something that darn, and I wrote it down. It'll come back to me.
Take your
But
time, yeah.
I want to say that this movie is going to take me a while to kind of I took these notes and I'm glad I did, because it could have taken me off like what was really under the message underneath everything. Like you're saying, they use that parody, but I want to get to one of like a few of the things that have become, I guess you could say, well-known conspiracy theories that involve the hood. Okay, if you want to say the hood, black culture, and that's the
Good.
the hair relaxers. So they touched on that hair relaxer thing, as well as the chicken, the spicy chicken. And I was just like, it feels like it's a mockery at the same time. It's like this seriousness about what they're disclosing, you could say. Not a lot of new things, because people have been suspicious of the hair relaxers, and now you're seeing advertisements for the legal profession that they are doing class action lawsuits against the companies. So you have the chicken, the hair relaxers, and the grape juice, right? Wasn't it grape juice was the other product? But I want to say that it was interesting to me. Oh, and the music. The music, it was hypnotic, right?
Oh
Hypnotic
yeah.
music,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that low frequency hypnotic music. Yes, cancer causing hair relaxers. So Tina knows. Tina is in the beauty industry, so she knows about these things, about these products. Now, the hair relaxers, I have a lot of like, I need to look into them a little more, because one of the things that's making me wonder about the hair relaxers and the fibroid tumors that are very common in certain demographics. So it's the music, the food, all of this toxic stuff going on within this small community, but underneath it, right, is the dumbs, the deep underground I would say military bases, right? And I want to say something going to back to the hair. It was interesting when I want to ask if anybody caught this. I'm jumping to the ending where Fontaine, who was the drug dealer, for everybody that didn't watch, it was a character named Fontaine. He was probably the main character. And when he faced the guy behind the guy, because Kiefer Sutherland was in the movie. This is, yeah, whoever hasn't seen it, sorry about giving away a lot of this, but so you have the guy who ends up being a black guy who is the original copy of Fontaine. Am I getting this right? Because I'm gonna need you all to help me with that. It seems like he was the original copy and Fontaine was his clone. But he said something that was interesting. He was a geneticist. So he was like the big guy, or if you could say the Oz, when Frog, the old man, was saying, "Oh, you're going to see the wizard," right? So I would say he was the wizard in a sense. I'm sure there was another person behind him, but he was the scientist that was the lead geneticist. Remember, he said he's the G, and he said he made a deal with the devil. And he said there were invisible people above him. And let's see, he had isolated 378 unique genes. Now, that was interesting. Unique genes. And he said the only problem was the hair. Did you catch that? He said the hair. He said the hair is stubborn. And I thought that was interesting. What did you guys catch? Did you catch that? And what do you think about that? He said the hair is a problem with the cloning.
Because the ether is in our hair.
Ether, nine ether. Is that correct?
Right. Like yeah,
Nine
like
ether.
it's your antennas. It's your antennas and with the and he had you said 300 and something what like you said DNA
Unique gene
uh
that, yeah.
strands, right? So that's like the same thing with all this ancestry.com and all that. What they looking for certain street DNA strands. Because remember, a certain group of people's DNA is able to be downloaded onto a microchip.
Hmm.
I see. I see. Okay, that's interesting. Also, what I got from that was, and of course, I love movies that make me think this way. Anything that I don't really understand, I tend to love it. Like, I didn't get that, but I love it. So that makes me really love a movie. And this was one of those movies. And I'm definitely gonna have to watch again. But what I was getting was that it reminded me a lot of the with the hair, Yakub and Yashmael story, where you had the black scientists, and if you looked in the tubes, at the tubes as they stood there, it looked as if they had three clones of the same one, and then that last one came out with no melanin. Okay, and if you look at the beginning of the movie starts with a non-melanated person, with the blue eyes, right? I mean, so could it very well be that they're actually, you know, maybe accidentally, they are creating people who are not melanated, if you will, if they copy them too many times or something? I don't know.
Well,
I
he
think they
said
saw.
that assimilation is better than annihilation. So, what was, I mean, that was an interesting thing that the scientists said.
They call
Okay.
those hybrids, right?
What's that?
I think what like the type you're talking about, how like you said they're creating like non-melanin. A lot of them are hybrids. I think.
It's, well, I really want to kind of see what's going on with that part of the messaging. It was just, it was a lot to it. And again, it can be distracting because of the just over the top parody and satire, but there was some stuff that was just, yeah, it's worth another view, like you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely. If I may, IG mentioned, and this is very well worth. I like to look at the comments. You guys know I'm a comment lurker. And IG mentioned that she's mentioning Kentucky Fried Chicken, and you see how they had the Church's chicken there, right? And before it was Kentucky Fried Chicken, it was Church's chicken. So again, there goes
Mhm.
that 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 gap between the timelines, right, sis? And
Uh,
so, remember when they had introduced this new sandwich at KFC, and they had, these was making world news stories with the people that was fighting in line. I think a few people got killed, shot over this chicken. Like, who the hell is wrapping around a building for a chicken sandwich like that?
that was
You know what
crazy.
I'm saying?
Yeah, it was,
So
I think it was Popeyes actually, because
was it Popeyes? Okay,
yeah, believe
okay.
it or not, some of my
Yeah,
little,
it was. Yeah, okay,
yeah,
sissy. Yep.
Popeyes. And some of my black boule friends were actually lined up for those chicken sandwiches. You know how they normally look down on stuff like that? They
Mm-hmm.
and they were even headed to Popeyes to get their chicken. And it was weird because it was a chicken sandwich and it was new, like you're saying. And that happened right in, well, I would say 2019, right? So right before you know, the pandemic. And not, I'm not tying it in, but I'm just saying like that happened, wasn't it around 2019, you all? I'm really thinking it was right before 2020. that seemed like it was an experiment, of course, to see. I guess maybe that's like part of all the mind control and the experimentation to see how willing the masses are to
Mm-hmm.
go, and you know what I'm saying, if they can manipulate so many people. And like you said, you had the media involved. Whenever the media is involved, we need to just like look at it with a side eye, because they're making a big deal about the lines around the corner. Like you said, girl code, they were acting like they were giving this freaking sandwich away. And that stuff annoys me so much. Because one of my friends, like I said, her and her family were running to get these chicken sandwiches, and they brought back all this extra, and they're like, taste it. And I was like, I really didn't want to even take part in it because it didn't feel right. I couldn't explain it like at the time, but it just didn't feel right. But
Absolutely.
you know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying? Another
Mm-hmm.
thing about those chicken things, like uh it was Mary J. Blige. She really annoyed me when she did that chicken sandwich. Remember, she was up there dancing and singing about crispy chicken. I was like, you know, Mary, I'm done. I'm so done with you. She's up on the table inside the chicken. And you remember she was like
Mm-hmm.
doing
Mm-hmm.
J. Blige dance. I was like, gosh, man, really?
Yeah, yeah. This is I don't know who said that when I first had came on. I don't know if it was a comment that was made or if it was either yourself or Karen, but I heard the term soft disclosure when I had first got on, and I says I think that we're having a lot of that go on through the movies, through the the television is really telling us a lot, more than ever. Okay, so a lot of these truths are coming out more than ever, so it could very well be them letting like, hey, remember what happened with Popeyes. I know that people had to have thought about that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And just like you, sis, like I never, I just, like you said, I never felt that it was right. I was just like, for them to be raving about this sandwich, like I just felt like I would taste it and not be here the next day. You know what I mean? So I
Right.
was like, no, I'm all set with that. So
Yeah,
yeah, that's an interesting point. Mm-hmm.
yeah, that was interesting to me about this whole thing. Um
Mm-hmm.
and another thing about it, I want to ask you about this. Like, okay, back to the hair. Okay, I know I'm stuck on this hair thing. All of the white people in the movie had afros. What the heck was going on there? Like, what? What do you? Dom says singing for chicken.
You
Yeah, she
know
was
what?
her
Because
crispy
I
chicken on.
that is so funny. Because I think as I said, I think that this may not be a favorable comment. But I think that it has a lot to do with the fact that yeah, I don't know if I'm ready to even say that, sissy. But hey, listen, white people and black people are the same people. I'll just say that, okay? So if you can catch and clock that T, you know what I mean? Like we're not too different of a people. You know what I mean? It's just that one of us has melanin and one of us doesn't. We're coming into existence pretty much the same way. You know what I mean? But they have taught us to, differentiate ourselves from one another. Okay, like I'm even rethinking gravity. I just saw a video on Telegram where there was a gentleman who was flying a plane. He
Mm-hmm.
had a bottle of Fiji water, okay, and then he had a cup. He had cut he took the top off and cut the propeller. It was one of those little airplanes that got the propeller on the front of it, like the old school ones. He cut that off. He flipped the plane around, did a twirl. None of the water came out. Then he put it back on. We start. Then he poured it in the cup. and turned the propeller off and turned the plane around again, and none of the water went anywhere. And they said, and that, at the end, it was one of those shorts, and it was just like rethinking if gravity even exists. So why do I mention that? I mention that because if we're programmed to believe that when we jump we're gonna fall, then of course we're gonna fall, right? Now, like a monk, if you're programmed to believe that you can levitate, then you will levitate. So I think the program is extremely deep, and I do not think that there is a very big difference between Black people and white people like they want us to believe.
Yeah. Well, it it's one of those things that's probably one of the most powerful programs in terms of this race thing, and some of the messaging in the movie when they were talking about America being an experiment and how they were trying to bring unity about through all of this cloning, which was really weird, and also keeping things status quo in the hood and not allowing like everybody. Another thing that was said is everybody felt that it was a trap. Like being in that Glen was a trap. Did you notice that? Like everybody said that. It was like, oh, it's a trap. It's a trap. It's a trap house. And that whole term being trapped, it made me think, it's like keeping things status quo in the culture, in the society. And one of the things that Jamie Foxx's character Charles said was something about 9/11 being, whatever, one of the conspiracies. And he mentioned Berenstain Bears, which is like, we know that's that Mandela thing. So it's just a lot of just crazy mind bending things. And I wanted to thank Rose. Destiny Rose says, I think it was a targeted ploy, like so many other things that come down to demographics and targeted communities. Yeah, absolutely. And I want to say something about, I know that it's a lot of over the top like concepts from this movie, but in the West Philadelphia area, I was working as a school nurse, that's considered like the inner city. And I know people, they joke about like people like me. They're like, you're like a Cosby kid. But listen, okay, I might not have grown up in certain areas. That doesn't mean I don't know about them or haven't been in certain areas. So I found that interesting that, they focused on a particular area that you tend to see liquor stores and all the typical things, right? When I worked as a school nurse in West Philadelphia, I worked in one of these old like Tartarian buildings, and it was such a big building that was repurposed. Like the school that I worked at was one of those what do you call them, like a special school, whatever, what are they called, those new schools? I forgot the name of it. Charter school. So it was a charter school that they had rented part of this big huge Tartarian building, and then on a whole other side they had a company that was a pharmaceutical company. They were doing research, okay? And I want you all to listen very closely to what I'm saying, because this is happening. I almost got a job at this company. That's how I knew about it, because I went to an interview because I was going to get like a second job. And they wanted a nurse, a research nurse. So I've worked in pharmaceuticals. So I figured, yeah, okay, let me check out this and go to the interview. And I was shocked that this whole company was set up in this building. It was so many different things inside this building. So this pharmaceutical company, they were paying people from the neighborhood to take part in their studies, and they were paying them really well. So they would get the study people to come either to this facility, like they had beds like set up, and they had to live there for a period of time. Do you hear? Like, that's weird, right? They
Wow.
were paid a lot of money. And so you can see how that would be attractive to people living in housing that wasn't stable. They could go and take part in this study and live inside, like have housing and food. They were not allowed to leave while they were taking part in these studies. And I don't know how long these studies would go on, but can you imagine, like, you have places where people are being housed and they're being paid and fed, so they're being, they're being treated as guinea pigs. What are they doing? And it's a lot
Absolutely.
of little companies like that. They don't have the big names like Merck Sharp and Dome or Pfizer.
Hmm.
They're not on our radar. These are research organizations that we wouldn't know the names of them. They
Hmm.
also rent parts of hospitals. So
Hmm. Hmm.
anybody who has worked at a hospital, you know what I'm talking about. A lot of hospitals have dead space. They
Hmm.
have whole units that are closed down. So you have companies that are renting space in hospitals, and they're conducting studies. And what's going on is my question. What are these studies? It's a lot of
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, I want to talk about a time makes me think of what you just said with the studies of the neighborhoods and the people. Maybe about a good 10, 11 years ago or so, we started to have a lot of new pop-up little clinics, if you will, like, little sister companies. And around that time, the inner city people were continuously being bombarded with, what they would call quote unquote fake cases. Okay. So people was getting arrested. People was having drugs planted in their car. They were, raiding people's homes with, false accusations and false warrants. And I don't know if it was 10. I know that it was around the time that, Obama was in office. I do know that. And what ended up happening was that shortly thereafter, and of course, a lot of people are not looking at these things when they're happening, but shortly thereafter, they started to say, well, anyone who's been and I don't know if anyone in our family in the chat can relate to this, but it was anyone who's ever been arrested, anyone who's ever had a felony or has been arrested in the past 6 months to a year, we need your blood. Okay, we need to have your blood. We've got to take blood from you, because if some crime is committed, we're going to have your blood to match up against these things. Okay, so you're going to have to give the blood. And of course, there was a lot of people that was like, fuck you, you ain't getting my blood, right? And if you did not give the blood, then they would give you a warrant. Okay,
whoa.
so you needed to give the blood. So they would have, and I'm not exaggerating, because they even built a brand new police station, like a headquarters over there, like right in the middle of all of the colleges. Like, so, you got Northeastern, Wentworth, all of that, Harvard, everything is in this big headquarters. And they were holding these things down in the basement parts of these police stations, where they had the lab technicians and everything. Why do I mention that? I mention that because, you know, whatever happened to you getting DNA from somebody if they are a suspect? Under what regime do you get to take everyone's blood and then, proceed to give them a warrant if they fail to do so?
Wow.
Okay, so this is way bigger. And, I could talk about cloning a lot. And I think I can probably even jog people's memories on some things that have to do with cloning in their cells. But I just wanted to mention that to talk, close to your point of these, these new facilities that pop up with these studies.
Hmm. Hey, Alan, how are you? Thanks for joining us. You know,
Thank you, Dawn.
what you're
Mhm.
saying, like, sis, is like, okay, the aspect of clones. That's something that needs to be broken down in a way that people can understand, because it's a really abstract thing in a way, like cloning. We know that they successfully cloned a sheep named Dolly back in was 1996, and the cloning studies, as they say, began in what they say the 70s and 80s, but I'm just telling you, if you look it up, you can correct me. I'm sure, it was way earlier that they started these studies. I would venture to say that the Nazis of Germany were doing a lot of this stuff. And I mean, I'll have to revisit the movie like The Boys from Brazil and that kind of thing. But I think that cloning is not understood in layman's terms, in terms of like what is a clone. um okay, the sheep Dolly, they cloned that sheep, and from what I understood, when you clone an animal, it ages very quickly, so we're not looking at a long lifespan like a normal sheep's lifespan. Everything is accelerated. When you talk about cloning humans, when was the first human clone? I don't know. But I remember, and I've shown a clip of former President Bill Clinton, when he gave a speech about cloning, and that they were going to have to get the scientific community to come together and have some sort of ethics and rules about cloning humans, which is like, okay, who is going to honor rules when you think about it? How are you going to enforce it? So you have Canada Clonaid up there, and allegedly they've been cloning people up there for a while. And I remember it was some rapper that he even said, I'm a clone and I'm whatever number that he was. If anybody knows who that rapper was, um, I don't know. Like, he could have just been trolling, but I've heard this, time and time again, and I have yet to really get a really good simplistic, like a movie or anything that really explains cloning. If anybody knows of a good documentary or anything that would explain, how they say, explain it to me as if I just dropped down on this planet. Like, tell me, what is a clone, a human clone? It is a copy of a human, or is it another? I don't know. Like, you download someone's consciousness, like Karen said, you could
Mhm.
put the consciousness onto, they've shown that they could copy it, or
Mhm.
copy your
Mhm.
DNA right onto a disc,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
Um we had the test tube babies, remember, of the 80s? What was that all about? Test tube babies.
Mhm. Mhm. Yep. Yep. Well, you know, I definitely agree. I made a mention in the chat when you were talking about Dolly, because you know that they call us the sheeple. They call us the sheep, right?
Yeah,
So
that's
when they were talking about Dolly the sheep, that's the first thing I thought about was people. I didn't even think of an animal at all when I heard them talking about Dolly.
interesting.
Um, the Boys in Brazil, oh my goodness. I love that. When I say that's one of my favorite movies, I mean, that is one of my favorite movies. I love that movie. And Yeah, they went into to great detail about how they go ahead and create the clones. And they talked about them with the full breakdown, and they it has a lot to do with environment. So when you are, let me tell you something. Boston, Massachusetts is riddled with clones. Okay, I'm going to tell you that. I don't care who someone thinks they are. I feel everyone has one, and you will come in contact with one. Very, not you, but if you live here in Massachusetts, okay, as a
Mhm.
melanated person, everybody, mostly everyone that I know, has come in contact with someone that looks like themselves, and it's always a matter of trying to take a person down. Okay, you could be watching TV and seeing a person rob a bank that looks just like you. They even have the same clothes that you wear, and you know that that's not you. Okay,
Mhm.
someone could walk up to you and tell you that you are trespassing and you don't belong somewhere, and open up a folder with a face that looks just like you, but only you know that that's not you. This is the type of shit that be happening around here. Okay,
Mhm.
so in terms of how they do it, and Boys in Brazil, they did a breakdown, and they talked about how they had created hundreds, I think it was even thousands of Hitlers. Okay, so a bunch of Hitlers is what they did.
Okay.
And they needed to recreate his entire environment. So they needed for his father to be the same age as Hitler's father was when he had him, the mother,
Mhm.
now these are not the originals, but your mother would be the same age as Hitler's mother when she had given birth to him.
Oh,
Okay,
I
and
see.
that sort of thing. And then they would create the actual environment in which that child grew up in,
Right.
and raise that child that very same way. This is how the movie Boys in Brazil had broke it down. And they talked about how they took all of these Hitlers and they placed them all throughout the world. Okay. And so this is what you saw. A lot of them were here in America. Okay. So you have just recreated copies of Hitler here in America. And that's what that whole entire division, you know, with the and I don't think that, and this may not be popular either, but I really don't think he was as evil as they have created him out to be. I don't think he started out that way. That's just my personal opinion, but it was just a very good narrative to run with, and it was a good person to, because think about the enemy of the Americans is usually the good guy. Seriously. Seriously.
Yeah, yeah. I think that we're at a point now where, people like Kanye or Ye, like they cracked open the Overton window where you weren't even allowed to say anything like that, that, well, you're questioning the narrative about him. They shut you down. You can't even think anything. So I think it's become more not safe. It's not that it wasn't safe or you couldn't do it. It's that there's not going to be a lot of the backlash anymore like it used to be, because we're questioning narratives. We're realizing that so much of everything we've ever heard and learned is a lie. And welcome, Golden Amethyst. You're saying, I remember us saying everyone has a twin. Yeah. And like Girl Code just said earlier, I want to say this, Girl Code, and welcome the Guru. The Guru is here and he will know what I'm talking about. In our family, we have a very beloved, she married into our family, but at the age of 30 or close to it, she started to develop symptoms of schizophrenia. And that is when schizophrenia tends to happen, is at the 30-year age mark. I don't know why, but it that's what happens. Like in nursing, we tend to track it that way. Sometimes it gets sort of awakened when someone smokes marijuana in their teenage years, like late teenage years. They say that it can bring on schizophrenia. You've probably heard that before, right? Um, I think the marijuana, of course, has to be laced with something. You guys let me know what you think about that, but that happens for certain people that might have a predisposition to schizophrenia. Something will wake it up, but that happened for this particular family member, and she used to get on the Greyhound bus from Philadelphia to Los Angeles. Okay. Can you imagine? She's riding across the country on a Greyhound bus, and she's very beautiful, by the way. And I used to lose sleep at night thinking about if she was okay, because I would hear, yeah, she got on a bus again and she's headed back to LA, and it's like, oh my god. I would just worry about her because she became very childlike and you wanted to protect her. But one of the things that she said, because I used to love to talk to her, and a lot of people just, they wrote her off, and they said, oh, she's talking crazy again. But a lot of the things that she would talk about was very high level stuff, like very, very deep stuff. She talked about, you know for example, she talked about things in like different languages and different types of people, and it was really deep. And one of the things that she said when she would go out to LA, she said that there was a copy of each one of us in the family out on the West Coast. And everybody would laugh at her, but I was like, really? I was like, really? I wanted to hear more about what she said. Like when she would go there, she would stay in, I think, like, what is it, the Union mission or whatever, and she would just like stay there for a little while and then come back. But she did say there was a copy of each one of us. So what do you think about that? I thought that was like, whoa.
Absolutely. I think that she was very much in tune with what's happening with the world. And as everybody knows, that one of my fascinating subjects to study and talk about would be targeted individuals. And most targeted individuals are labeled with schizophrenia. Well, they become a little bit more clever these days with documenting their experiences. And of course, the agents that are tapping in, talking with them and to them, will tell them different things, that they work for Lockheed and Martin, or, that they work in Switzerland, or that they are Americans based in Philippines, and different things of this nature. And because they really are cocky. When I say these people are cocky, so these people are able to do a lot to you, and they tell you about the cloning. So I find that the people that are because schizophrenia is a lie. I don't care what anyone says. I'm labeling that. I will debunk that right now. That's my allegedly. That's my personal opinion. Allegedly, schizophrenia is a lie to me. Okay, based off of the people that were labeled with schizophrenia, and based off of their sound mind and their sound reasoning. And I'll just say, I'm sorry that your family member had to go through that. And it's a very lonely place, because most people are not in tune with that. They even cloned. They even coined a term. And what do most people say when they hear people? Look at the guys who are the guy who was the dating guy app, right? And he was killing all these women. The school shooters. I mean, every single last one of them. I'm not talking about some of them. Every single last one of them will tell you that there are people talking to them. Okay. And everyone just says, oh, mental health is real. That's all you get, period. Mental health is real. And of course, we know that the mental health field runs in conjunction with the courts and that sort of thing. So when you speak to a psychiatrist, the psychiatrist says, yeah, well, you know what? The psychiatrist finds that you are able to stand trial.
Right. Hmm.
So I do believe that schizophrenia and cloning, they have a very close relationship with each other, because just like the agents that we saw underground in the Glen, okay, they are able to go ahead and tap into someone. I mean, we may call them what do you call them? Diplomats. You may call them diplomats. A lot of the people who were spoken to remotely before anyone were usually the diplomats. So they need to be told what to do, where to go, how to do it. And, they do those things remotely.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Courtney, okay, look at this GirlCode. What's your take on that woman on the airplane saying that? She said that MNF ain't real. Remember her? And she had her hands doing the Baphomet. I don't know. I'm just saying. Wasn't she doing something? One hand was up, one hand was down. She's in the little, corridor of the first class, I guess. And she was saying, she got up out of her seat. Do you remember this GirlCode a couple weeks ago? Like a blonde. She had her hair snatched back. She had jeans, like torn jeans. A lot of guys on Twitter are saying she's hot. They want to find her, by the way. But she was the one that got up and said she wanted off the plane because that MNFer back there wasn't real. And she pointed,
Absolutely.
I
Hmm.
don't know who the MNFer was,
Hmm.
but what did you think of it? Courtney wants to know.
Wow. Well, Courtney, I believe that she was able to see things that other people couldn't see. For a very long time, I've been seeing people who are not real. They work at places like Chick-fil-A, Walmart. They'll be around you. And I like to explain them like this. Like, you can tell, like, you ever walk into your house and you don't hear it and you don't see it, and you didn't even have to be the one to put this on, but you can kind of like feel that a TV is on in another room. You kind of feel that energy. You feel that something is some electricity is going on. So for starters, I believe that she was absolutely seeing a person who she deemed to not be real. In terms of the Baphomet hand signals, like, these people, they don't want to pick up on signals when they're always flashed in your face. Sometimes I might find myself drinking a cup of coffee or drinking a cup of tea, and I may have my index finger pointed out and my pinky finger pointed out, but it's not purposefully. Sometimes you can just find yourself doing that, the way you hold something or the way you. So I don't know. I didn't read into it that she was doing that to be some sort of signal. I just kind of think it read that way. You know what I mean? And if that is the case, then hey, maybe the other side is actually disclosing that there are so many people that are unreal that you can find one behind you or next to you on an airplane. So I do not think that she was out of her mind. The people were just kind of laughing at her because
Right.
the people are not, they don't think. And we've reached critical mass. That's what critical mass is. Critical mass is when you've reached a point where more than 50% of the people are not real anymore around us. So, like, we're all gathering here. We're all fully human. We have control of our mind, our body, and our soul. But there are a lot of people around us who are not fully real, whether or not they're cloned. They have absence of their pineal glands, they have an absence of their soul, so they're very programmable. So they just kind of move off a suggestion, you know what I mean? They just kind of do what they're told to do without even a blink of an eye. So that was the long end way of answering that. I really think that woman saw a non-human entity on that plane.
Okay. Now, second question. Do you think, where is she? Has anybody followed up with the woman on the plane? Sean says it happened on several flights, but the one that we're talking about that got a lot of traction a couple of weeks or a week ago, I I don't know, has anybody talked to the lady, like to interview her? It just seems like she dropped off the face of the earth. She got off the plane, I assume. Did she get off the plane? I think they
I do think that she had gotten off the plane because I know that they had mentioned that she had gotten off the plane, and I think a couple of more smart people got off the plane, and they mentioned that she was not arrested for that disruption. So, but we
okay.
didn't get to actually see her, um, you know, um, get off, but they did mention that in the news, and I find that for some reason they wanted us to know that story because nothing is making the news without a full reason. There has to be a
Is
reason
the
why everything
yeah.
makes the news.
And Destiny Rose said she vanished. Now that's what I find weird about the times that we're in. It's so many things that are weird about um the news stories, the narratives. Okay, so if she said this person wasn't real, I think they had to delay the flight because they wanted to check the plane over because of what she said. Because I think she said something like, if you guys continue, you're all gonna die. I mean, like, listen, I'm not afraid to fly or anything, but if somebody gets up and says everybody's gonna die on the plane, that's not gonna make for a very comfortable flight, right? You're not gonna be really
Mm-mm.
confident on a flight like that, even though you might think she's crazy, but
Mhm.
just like, come on, that's gonna set a bad tone. So I think that it was enough concern that they had to do some maintenance things and people were delayed a while. So they let her go. I would think that, see, that's what makes the thing feel like a psyop or something. It feels like they're playing in our face because why can't we hear from this woman? Like, wouldn't she be a great person to interview at least? I mean, isn't that the norm around here that you would want to hear a little bit
Oh,
more from her?
absolutely. Oh,
She
absolutely.
disappeared into like thin
Mhm.
air, thin
Mhm.
air, pun intended.
Mhm.
Okay, so
Yeah.
yeah, Sean
Mhm.
says there was another one, a black woman. I saw her crawling on the top of the seats. Listen, y'all, I done told y'all,
What?
y'all won't catch me on no flights, okay, anymore. Okay, I am done with flying. F flying.
Mm.
I'm
Right.
done with it. And for me
Right.
to say that is a big deal because I'm an aviation geek, but people are going crazy, or
Right.
it's just too many incidents. I look at all those headlines and I know, okay, you shouldn't be doom scrolling, but it's a lot of activity on these flights and I'm a little triggered. I don't need drama on my flights. I've had enough drama on flights, okay? So I have grounded myself. If I have to get on a flight, you just know I really had to do it because I am not interested in flying anymore. Period. That's just me. But yeah,
Right.
I saw that woman climbing over the top of the seats and another
Hmm.
China, he says. Yeah, it's just too many whatever's happening with people right now, it's just very off-putting because
Right.
I don't know. Like I've had people have a heart attack on the plane where I helped them out for the rest of the flight. I was like helping out with a doctor, if you know that story, and someone choking and I'm helping them. I'm done, okay? I'm done.
Mhm.
I don't want
Mhm.
somebody who's having a whole whatever meltdown. I just don't
Right.
want parts of it. So that
Yeah.
woman, that's going to be interesting. I guess it. The news cycles are so quick that
Mhm.
they know that we're going to forget about it. Okay, like
Mhm. Mhm.
she's become a meme at this point.
Mhm. Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
she real? Is she the
Right.
person? I mean,
Exactly. And not to, it's not about being scared. Well, shoot, when your instincts tell you stay off those airplanes, sissy. But I mean like just the overall atmosphere of the people in this day and age. And we just gotta keep on continuing to remember that we are not wrestling against people like us. We are wrestling against spiritual wickedness, okay? Principalities who need bodies to inhabit, to be able to walk this earth, to experience all of the evil things that they want to experience, sex with children, okay? Drugs, okay? They wear them as outfits. Children, not minding their parents, going to and they want to be around other children, so they get in bodies and they become children. Okay, so we are not dealing with people. We are dealing with principalities, and this is a lot of spiritual wickedness in this day.
It
It
is.
really is.
It really is. That's a great reminder. We wrestle not against flesh and blood. And right now, I don't need to tell you all, we're in a different phase of our, history as a civilization, and we're at the throes of an empire collapsing. So they're throwing the whole kitchen sink at mind manipulation. So knowing that it's about getting into your mind and controlling your mental. Because in the movie, they clone Tyrone. They mentioned this is the government. Like that's what Jamie Foxx's character, when they first went down in the elevator, he's like, "This is the MF government." And it's like that always sounds crazy to say the government, but it is the government in league with corporate technology. These are many governments working together to control the people, because it's not just this empire here that is collapsing. All of the empires around the world are collapsing. I mean, I just heard recently that Trudeau up in Canada, he's going through a divorce. His wife has left him. And, if a wife is leaving a man like that, it has to be pretty bad. I'm just saying. There's no wife that is going to leave the prime minister, right? She's got a pretty cushy life, I'm sure. So it has to be pretty bad. And we don't
And not to
encourage it.
mention, it's not safe.
No,
But they always have place in the predicament where we're watching the wives leave. A lot of these wives have left these high ranking wizards, these big tech moguls. The wives are actually taken off, and they actually can actually divorce in private. They don't have to announce these things, but for some reason they want us to see these things. I mean, this disclosure is a little bit softer than I would like it to be, but I really do think that they're showing us that, listen, because Justin Trudeau, he's a very high ranking wizard. Okay, all of these people that are in power are very high ranking evil sorcerers. Okay, and the same thing with your comedians. And so I pray that Jamie Foxx in real life is okay, and this is not just a gimmick employ to get people to come out and watch this particular movie. I really do. But he's over there playing with the Royal Order of Jesters, and they are another leg of the Brotherhood, and this is a really tough war. This war is a tough war. We got some really bad people on the planet. And then it's just like anything, when you have an infestation of something, you really don't see it all until you start to go after it. You know what I mean? And then that's when all of the freaking crud and all of the goddamn swamp scum starts to be visible.
Yeah, it is. This is a very weird part of this timeline that we're on. And I know a lot of us have been running, shoulder to shoulder for a while now. And we have to keep encouraging each other and stay connected, because a lot of us do need encouragement at times, because it's demoralizing. And that's what the enemy of humanity wants, is to demoralize us. And our nation has been demoralized in such a way that, you know, it's thrown everything into what we call the clown world, because the further we get away from God and from truth, and especially objective truth, everybody has their truth. And we can't have all these versions of truth. It has to be like one truth. And yeah, two things can be true, but not truth. Truth is singular. And lawfulness, the way that we have no law currently, like, is just so off base right now in America, especially. So we're seeing the ramifications of a nation that's been demoralized. And when we think about Jamie Foxx, first of all, his name is like Eric Marlin Bishop. So when we use his name, Jamie Foxx, I sometimes in my mind I think, what is really like what's really going on with him, because his legal government name is Eric, right? So Jamie Foxx is a fiction, a fiction, a legal fiction maybe. I don't know if he changed it legally, but that makes things a little more confusing, because a lot of people don't go by their names. They have legal fiction names. And I wonder about that when it comes to this Jamie Foxx stuff. He's a very pivotal gesture, as you say, Sissy, in this sort of play right now, because this movie, as satirical and parody and comedy, whatever it is, it did disclose some things. It did, definitely do that. When it comes to the Black community, this is very nefarious what has been disclosed. And unfortunately, I don't think the leadership within the Black, they call a community, I don't think they're going to open up conversations about this stuff. It'll just continue to be like, what? A comedy. This is all a joke, right? But it's not a joke. This stuff. I mean, just recently I posted a reel about Henrietta Lacks. Okay. Henrietta Lacks, if anybody doesn't know, you could look it up. This is a woman who they took her cells. She was dying of cancer. They took her cells and they used them to pretty much, I've heard, it's like the foundation of a lot of the research that the pharmaceutical companies have done based on this woman's cells. And they called them immortal cells. So immortal cells from a woman. So we're talking about mitochondrial DNA. And by the way, the very first woman that they said they cloned, or very first human, they named it Eve. Okay. Did you all know that? The very first human cloned was called Eve. So I'm tying in Henrietta Lacks, and you can read between the lines and, whatever you want to do with this. But her family just got justice for them stealing without any consent her cells and using them to pretty much create a lot of research. It took 70 years for them to get justice. And I want to say, I don't know what 70 years, like the significance of it is. The pharmaceutical industry tried to get either 70 or 75 years. Can anybody in the chatmosphere correct me? That is the span of time that the pharmaceutical industry currently wanted to close all of the data from what they were doing with this pandemic and their juicy juice that they, wanted everybody to put into their bodies. So they wanted immunity. How ironic. So, Sean, it is 70 years. What's up with 70 years? Can I get my decoder, Sissy? Why do you think that it took 70 years to get justice for Henrietta Lacks, and the current regime wanted 70 years of immunity so that nobody could look into what they were doing with this big worldwide experiment? What do you think is up with
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I'm looking at 70 years as a generation, maybe,
Yeah,
possibly,
yeah,
right? It's not a big surprise that they target our older populations, right? These are the people that we supposed to get our memories from, the storytellers, right? The matriarchs, the patriarchs of our family. They have quickly become I think that they've always been a target. You know, they kind of, oh, you know, we've got to look out for the elders and, you know, all the veterans, but they've always been under the scope of the enemy. I think that it's just more visible now. But could it possibly be that, you know, within 70 years they've, you know, they feel like, you know, anyone who was ever going to remember or you know, do something are too frail at that point and would more than likely forget after 70 years. I don't know if there's a deeper meaning, but just off the top, 70 years is interesting. Let me see what the family's thinking about that.
I think you're right about that. Okay, Golden Amethyst said, didn't the queen reign for 70 years? Did she? That's interesting. Monkey Speaks thinks it's biblical. Like, yeah, like what Sissy's saying about a generation. Like, is 70 years considered a generation? Because that sounds like what you're saying is right on, like spot on, Sissy, because within, okay, let's take what they did currently. If they are granted immunity, which I don't think they are going to get immunity, I think that people are waking up at such a fast clip that they are not able to gaslight like they did back in the 50s or whatever when Henrietta Lacks, you know, that happened to her. Um, 70 years gives them enough time, yeah, for a generation to either a lot of them die off or become frail, like you're saying. Memory, they attack the memory a lot. You've been talking about this, GirlCode. They really attack the memory.
Yeah,
They touched on that in this movie, by the way. You know, remember they were talking about the memories.
right.
So do a lot to our elderly because senility, dementia, Alzheimer's, we've normalized that, but it's not normal. Just because a person ages doesn't mean that they shouldn't have cognitive abilities like they had all their lives. I mean, maybe the body slows down, but the mind doesn't have to.
No,
So,
it doesn't. We're going to
yeah,
get disclosure on that. We're going to get disclosure on how, because people may think, well, who's my grandmother or who's my family? Like, why is it that you're so important? You're just in a little cottage, up on the hill, in the South somewhere. Like, what, like who's thinking about you? Guess what? The government zones in on everyone. Sometimes they'll just target an entire family. And, give them that, sometimes down south they'll call it pig's disease, right? Or dementia, and just kind of wipe their mind remotely. It does happen, and they single us out, and we all are very important. We just think that we're not important, like, oh, I'm just this, I'm just a normal person living my normal life. Like, what do you want to look in on me for? Why do you want to target me? It's what they do. And you're right, Sissy, you should not decline and your abilities to remember and recall where you put your glasses, your appointment the next day, your grandchildren's name, all of these things. We have normalized and we've been okay with them, and then we're just willing to accept them when they happen to the next generations. So we're going to get disclosure on all of those things because they are being done purposefully. We've got these evil people who are wiping the minds of people. And now it's even easier to do it with the shot, okay? But like I said about all of these people who are doing horrific things, who, and some of them can't remember, is anyone saying to them, well, did you get vaccinated? No one's asking these questions because we're still being told that this was a great thing. This is awful, and I'm really ready for this damn movie to end quickly. Okay.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, you know what I observe within, like, chats, I like to look at Twitter because, again, I don't want to look at only one opinion. And what I've noticed is you have people that pushed those things onto people. They were cheering when we lost our jobs and different things. So some of them are apologetic, and they're doing their mea culpas. um, some of them have just ignored it. They don't care. They don't feel that they need to apologize to people. I mean, people lost their friendships. Some people divorced their spouses over this stuff. It really did divide people a lot. But what I don't like, and this is what really makes me just not want to deal with a lot of people anymore, is that it feels so abusive to me. It feels like the worst kind of abuser. If you've ever known an abuser, a narcissist, somebody who doesn't mind inflicting pain on others, and then they become the victim, and then they don't want you to ever bring anything up. It's like, no, we're just acting like nothing happened anymore. I don't like that part about what happened. I am still in 2020 wanting to fix. We got to deal with a lot of this stuff. I it feels weird to just keep, just let's go on like normal. No, especially when we talk about the leadership, the celebrities, the different people, they really have to be accountable for the things that they did. You have rappers that they were singing like back that thing up. And by the way, in the movie, wasn't that what they were playing in that church, Mount Zion of the Holy Spirit?
Mm-hmm.
That
Yep.
thing
Yep. Exactly.
that was in.
Exactly.
Wasn't that interesting? So
Mm-hmm.
you had Manny Fresh and all these idiots that were
Mm-hmm.
pushing this on people,
Mm-hmm.
and we have
Mm-hmm.
to admit, okay, my white brethren and all of my other brethrens from
Mm-hmm.
other tribes, we're all the
Mm-hmm.
same tribe, but I'm just saying, listen, they push this thing on black people a lot heavier. They were really angry at the black community for not getting on board like they expected. So you had
Mm-hmm.
rappers, they were going into the barber shops. The Biden administration was even trying to target black, not just any barber shops, black barber shops.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay? You had
And then it's offensive. It's
you had
offensive.
strippers that were doing ads or whatever to lure the
Mm-hmm.
people in. It was very disgusting. And for me, it's hard for me to just move on. I can't. I'm very
Mm-hmm.
disappointed in people.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't like abuse. That's just the worst kind of abuse. So if you're questioning all of this stuff, okay, myocarditis, all these young athletes dropping like flies, you're the bad person now to even question. Did they get the juicy juice? Because it sure does seem strange that we have an uptick, and it's too many other factors. We have the morticians that are giving reports, we have the insurance industry actuarials that are telling us, yes, something's up, everybody. But if you question what happened experimentally to people, you're now the bad person. That is the worst kind of evil. And, you know, it's not going to go unchecked. The people that they think they're going to get away with it by acting like I'm not going to act like anything happened. No, 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 no. This was a big deal, and I'm sorry.
Mhm.
It's just not going to get swept under the rug like that
Say
because
that, sissy.
it's
Mhm.
too much carnage, too much.
Mhm.
So I think that this movie would be worth looking at it again. Maybe, I don't know. Some people might not have liked it. I I found it interesting. You know.
Yeah, I did too. A little oversaturated in the beginning with the vulgarity. But once you can, like I said, look at it again. I think that they did that to kind of throw you, make you close your eyes a little bit and, turn away once or twice so you can miss something that was truly important.
Oh,
So I definitely want to watch that again.
uh-huh.
I'm looking forward to watching other movies with you and the family, Sound of
Yeah,
Freedom. And I think that we can make this a thing in the future that we could watch movies together and just kind of gather together and talk about it and everything. And
oh,
it was just a lot like the Truman Show too. I thought about the Truman Show with they
oh,
clone Tyrone, and it's just like, you know
yeah,
what? Once we stop being a part of their great act, it's just like, you'll have them standing up there. Okay, now we're losing patience with you all. Look, we try to give you gift cards. We've tried to, we're losing patience, so it's just like, you know what, like they're not used to people thinking for themselves. And that's a great thing that they're losing patience because we are not going to do what you want us to do. We're going to do what we're supposed to do.
yep, that's right.
You
I do.
know.
What I like that idea of watching more movies in the future, because I have an idea I want to end on before we end this. I want
Mhm.
to bring up another aspect of the movie. Okay, um, when they went to the church, let's talk about that for a minute. Let's end on that. The church. Okay, the guy Frog, which we could get into, the older man who was sitting outside the liquor store, and Fontaine always poured a glass or cup of whatever he was drinking, a 40, which is a malt liquor, whatever you could call it. He would pour that in Frog's cup, and Frog was like, what would you say? He's like, what do you all say? Frog, his character could be likened to what, an oracle? But he said, go to church when you're looking for answers. And he mentioned when you're trying to get out of Babylon. So when they did get to the church, that's when we saw the grape juice being that's an element that was served. And it seemed like after the grape juice was finished, everybody started jumping around like they caught the Holy Ghost. And the pastor, or the passa, he was talking about obedience as he was giving his sermon. He was talking about, it doesn't matter if you're losing your whatever, your child has been shot. He was bringing up all the typical things that go on in the hood, all the violence, the poverty, and all this. But he was giving them sort of, like they say, an opiate. Like, it doesn't matter, just continue being obedient and trusting, and just keeping everybody complacent, right? And they started dancing to back that thing up. Um, and then there was another portal and another elevator in the church, in the pulpit. That was really wild. What did you think about that, Sissy? Also,
I feel
they
okay.
mentioned
Go ahead.
they also mentioned that there were 12, no, 10 churches in the Glen. I thought that was interesting. 10 churches.
Absolutely, because those churches, and have you noticed that, after we went through the pandemic, we started to notice that the churches and their members are some of the most sleep people. And let's not forget, us free thinkers are the ones who coined the term woke. And then what did they do? The minions, the devil, and the bottom feeders, they came and took that term, okay, and turned woke into something else. And the church was at the forefront of all of that, okay, with
Yeah.
their flags outside and all of their antics that they had going on. So the church is very much needed to rock the people and lull them to sleep. And even today, you still see people saying, find yourself a good church, or what church are you a part of? And they still haven't read that particular verse in the Bible that says that the church is the temple, is the body, okay? And the Father lives within us, okay? They still haven't read that part. But I think that the church is very valuable, which probably would be why they had 10 of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Hmm.
Like that's what I often lament when I drive through certain neighborhoods in Philadelphia. Is like a church on every corner, but at the same time, it's a bunch of, poverty and just blight. And I don't see where the church is doing anything to stamp out the darkness. Yeah, when you go through the doors, you probably have a great time, a great message, but you leave the church and the whole community is being just, the devil is running havoc. So what does that say about the power of the church? I've often, like I said, it makes me just sad, but um the church, especially the black church, is where they, you have, what was her name? Margaret Sanger knew the power of that institution. It used to be a good institution before it was co-opted by the government, but through the 501. Who said that? Thank you, IG. Yeah, 501(c), and that's how they pushed abortion on the black community, is through the church.
Oh,
The
yeah.
past, and
Mhm.
that's what they were pushing, the jabby jab. It's some pastors that I will never speak to again in
Oh,
life.
I know. Sissy, you had your bullhorn out during that time. You was like, where's the church? Where's
Yep.
the preachers, the bishops, the pastors, and the reverends? You was going off. Yep.
That's right. And I
Mhm.
know pastors personally, and some of them I will never speak to again for what they did, what I watched them do. And I just lost every ounce of respect. They should have been going to jail because they opened the doors of their church. That's what I would have respected. I would have stood out there with them if they said, "No, I'm not shutting my doors because the people need church." Meanwhile, they let liquor stores stay open. Liquor stores and big box stores like Walmart. Those were essential, but the church had to shut down. Are you kidding me? So
Oh,
they
yeah.
they are. They really
Right.
did. I don't need to I
Mhm.
don't need to see any more to know that that's the church of Laodicea.
Mhm.
And yeah, he's going to spit you right out of his mouth. So,
Mhm.
um with that with that, I want to say that I want us to do another live stream, Sissy,
Mhm. Yeah.
because I want to talk about everybody. I want to shift the energy for a minute, but it does tie into this, and I'll explain it later. I want to talk about Obama. Okay, I really do. I want us to revisit Obama, do a whole circle back, because that ninja, I am seeing his fingerprints on a lot of stuff. Okay. Now, Jamie Foxx has a very interesting connection to Obama. And it's so many layers to this. But I would like us to talk about the chef, Tafari Campbell, that recently drowned on the Martha's Vineyard, whatever property, or the pond outside of Obama's summer home. But there's something to it. It's just a lot of weird, watch the water kind of things, because even even in the movie, somebody said, "Hope the ninjas don't drown." Did you hear that part? Hope the ninjas don't drown. And I thought about, oh, interesting, because Jamie Foxx has a very weird connection to Obama. So I want to schedule a few more watch parties, and I want you all to just let me know some movies that you might want to watch. I want to suggest a couple that I would like to watch. One is called The Obama Deception. Is that the name of it? Do you all know what I'm talking about? I did watch it, but I want to rewatch it. The Obama Deception. That might be the one that what's his name? Because Obama went after him for it. If you all know what I'm talking about, please let me know. I want to watch that. I want to watch Sound of Freedom. Like you said, Sissy, Sound of Freedom, The Obama Deception. And I know this is like off the subject, but I want to watch also another movie with you all, if you're willing. It's called Corsicana. Corsicana. I'm going to ask first, before we do the Corsicana, I want to find out if Isaiah Washington would be okay with that. And I would love to invite him maybe on a live stream. Um, you know those Washingtons, right? My family of Washingtons. I really dig Isaiah Washington. I like the stuff that he posts. So I would like to watch his movie Corsicana with you all, and I would like anybody who watches it to do a review, because he does ask people to do a review. So I would like to do a call to action for everybody who'd be willing to do a review, either write one up or do a video review. But I'll find out if he's okay with it. I'm going to hit him up and see if he's all right with us doing it first, okay? If you have any other movie suggestions, let me know. Joyce said, I think it's a documentary called yeah, I want to watch it. If you all are down for that, I want to get that to do either next, because I want Karen and GirlCode and myself to get together again, and I want to talk about this chef that was found drowned in a pond of 8 feet of water. And I know they want us to forget about this, but no, this is a big story. This is really a big deal. And I know they've said that Michelle Obama is thinking about running. I don't know when she would put her name in there, but this should pretty much ruin her chances of running for president, because if you have a dead body in a pond of 8 feet of water with a paddleboard, are you kidding? Just know something is really off. Okay. IG says chef is a merman. What? Oh my goodness, really? Oh, Karen, you're still here? Good. So Sound of Freedom, The Obama Deception, and Corsicana. I want to put that on the next watch list, okay? And if you have any other ideas, Penny says you've heard that she was thinking about well, she might as well not think about running, because you got a dead chef in a pond, and I don't think, no, you're not running for nothing, not even dog catcher, okay? So yeah, I think that pretty much puts a fork in it, pun intended, okay? She's cooked.
Right. I be acting like I don't got a mic. I be so busy in the chat with them. I'm like, I'm over here like I forgot I got a mic. Yeah, yeah. You right though, sissy. You
Okay, you
right.
like that? Okay, so
I like that idea too. Yeah.
yeah, Sound of Freedom would be good. The Obama Deception and
hmm
Corsicana. Those be the next three,
Okay.
okay?
All right,
And,
bet.
yeah, and think about that, Sissy. I want to talk about this Obama stuff a little bit.
Okay.
I want to go back over the Obama years, what he's done, because it's his footprint
hmm
is still with us. And
Yeah.
they say he is really he's behind this current administration.
hmm
They're all the same. The Bushes and the Clintons, the Obama, and
Sorry.
just working on the same projects. So
hmm
I
Let's.
would like You
Let's get the
definitely.
telescope and put it on them. Let's get them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Cause
Hmm.
he, Obama, or like someone said, Barry Sotero,
Hmm.
he's the reason why we have the level of propaganda and gaslighting we have in the media, because he signed into law or changed the modernization of the Smith-Mundt Act. So that allowed the government to now turn propaganda onto the people, where they used to turn it against uh, other nations, which I don't think is cool either. But now it's turned on the people legally. So I really look at the things that are being done in the media, and how it's so hard to discern at this time. It's Obama to thank for that. So whatever happened to this chef, I think is going to be very critical. Bottoms up, Barry. Yeah,
Oh man, I'm telling you. Woo! Remember, where's Karen at? Remember, I'm gonna repost that. I got a lot of content for you all. But remember when we did the thing about the Obama party, me, you, and Karen? Let me tell you, that was
that
so funny.
party.
I need
Oh
to.
my God, that party was so janky. And like, okay, somebody on that, listen, somebody up there in Boston, sissy, some of them black boule up there in Martha's Vineyard, they know that this stuff ain't right. They know the
For
truth.
real.
They know. They know. So
Yes.
it's gonna leak out. I mean, it's bad. Oh, and by the way, I watch a particular channel, Paperwork Party Network. He's been on the Obama thing like you can't imagine. He has a team of people that do research. If you all don't know about him, it's called the Paperwork Party Network. And they solve cold cases. They do it in a team effort, which is the best way to do it. Okay. But he has some interesting things. If you're interested in this chef and what's going on, he's really on it. So I want to tie some things together, because I think it's great if we all can work on the puzzle, because that's how we get the narrative to turn around. We get to take it away from them. So, Big Mike 2024. you know, I mean, let's do it for the spirit of what's her name? Joan Rivers. Okay. We'll
Right.
dedicate it to Joan Rivers, okay?
I'm with
Oh,
it. This is gonna be
Penny knows
fun.
about the Paperwork Party Network. Thank you. Yeah, the Paperwork Party Network, y'all. Check them out.
Hmm.
Check out the stuff he's doing with this Obama chef thing. But yeah,
Right.
we had a lot of fun, Sissy, you, me, and Karen, with that Obama birthday party.
Yes.
Now you see how things really connect. Okay, Erica Badu, if anybody remembers, I think that she was the one that ruined like the whole illusion. Erica Badu ruined the illusion of that Obama birthday party. I think she was like the loose lips that sank the ship. Uh and it's funny that she's the one that sings the "They clone Tyrone, call Tyrone." So
Right,
there.
right. And you know what I thought about that too? I says, we mustn't forget either, because they have been taking this AI and weaponizing the hell out of this AI. So they pretty much could have created a song without the Badu. You know what I mean? And
Oh,
so just like how they're sending the holographic Beyonce all over the world. You know what I mean? So it's like they are taking AI. They said, didn't Elon try to warn y'all? Didn't we try to tell y'all don't AI was gonna win against y'all? Y'all don't even know y'all are in the goddamn war against AI. It's whooping your ass so good.
it is
So,
good. Like AI.
mm.
Whoa. Let me tell you, like, if people really knew how they're being gaslit, they would be so scared and panicked. But again, the thing about it is to have no fear. and to pray for discernment, like that you like have never prayed for before. Please, we need extra discernment right now, because the way that they can trick the minds of the people, and if it were, the very elect could be fooled. But the elect will not be fooled, and we will continue to expose these narratives, take back the narrative, and watch the empire collapse. So just take heart, everybody, and know that,
Absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely. And I just wanted to mention too, just as a side note too, that everything and everyone, I love Paperwork Party, by the way, but everything and everyone coming out of the truth of community isn't necessarily the truth. That's why we got to continue to make sure that we just kind of, gather with each other and remind each other, because even through um a video and stuff like that, it still isn't the same that we can actually touch bases with each other and just continue to give each other reminders that we are still all hanging on in there, and we all still are rallying for the good of it all. And it is going to happen because it's already written. We are going to win. The war is already won. It's just, a lot of casualties, and we're through the roughest part of the storm, but everything's going to be cool. We know it, we feel it, and we're just going to, put action into gathering a lot more than we have in the past, just to continue to remind one another and let you all know that we're here for you and with you, and that we love you, and we cannot wait to see you again at the next movie. Like, next time we got to watch the movie for and make sure it don't got 9,000 vulgarities in it,
Oh
because
my
I was
gosh,
like,
yes. I'm
woo.
sorry about that, you all. I had no idea the N
I
word was be like the main
Look,
word.
sissy, I felt like I had baby ears. Okay, I was
It
like,
was
oh, oh, I
horrible.
was all cringing, like, oh, like an old person. Like, I was like, that's too much.
They should have
But
warning that, hey, the movie is filled with so many N words you can't even.
mm-hmm,
But you know what? I put this comment up by IG. Before we go, I want to say something about what you just posted, IG. You said
mm-hmm,
McAfee Computers, he's got it all. I'm glad you posted
that
that.
part.
You know
Mm-hmm.
what? Let me tell you, we need to do a circle back to John McAfee also. Now, I want to just, because I look at a lot of connections, John McAfee of McAfee, what is it? What was his product called again? You all know. He basically had the access to all computers through his security thing, McAfee, right? Now, what was the name of McAfee's whole product? Like, does anybody know? I forgot for a minute. But John McAfee also had a home on Martha's Vineyard, everyone. So that's a connection I want to make with you saying that. When I was up in Martha's Vineyard, we had driven by the home of John McAfee. Um, that he lived. I don't know how much of the year he lived up there, but John McAfee had been married to a black woman. I know, oh, it's not always about race, but it is. I'm just telling you all. He was married to a black woman at the time and had a home up there. I think it was in the Inkwell area, Edgartown or whatever. Um, And I just find that interesting that antivirus software. And he is a real critical part of why the bad guys were, all of their information was leaked. Okay, John McAfee knew a lot about what was going on, so he plays in really heavy into the whole whistleblower thing. So I just want to one day circle back to McAfee, as well as the other guy. What was the other guy? um what was his name?
You talking
That,
about the one with the planes, the airplanes? Um,
He had a little afro too, a little white guy with an afro, and he was,
I can't
remember?
think. But I do know that when you talk about McAfee, I want to talk about Android. I want to talk about Keck, the fraud gods. I want to
Oh
talk
yeah,
about
yeah,
all
yeah, yeah.
that, how they found their way up into the truth of community. I want to get deep with that too, like at the end of the discussion, because I think that that's important, like how Android came into play and what that's all about. I think it'd be interesting that we all talk about that. That'd be really good. McAfee is definitely the man.
Oh my gosh, it's a very interesting thing to like look into McAfee. So I want to tie that in, definitely McAfee. But what I was thinking of was the other guy that he had exposed a lot of Hollywood. Remember him? And he did like rap songs. It's really funny, but it wasn't funny because supposedly he got killed, and Tom Hanks, he was mentioning something about Route 66. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? What's his name?
Oh, you talking about the little the little dude that got
You
killed?
know, dude.
Yeah, why can't I think? It's too late. My brain's fried. But his name
I
is
know, me too. But I think him and McAfee would be a good combination, like to talk about both of them. Cappy, that was Isaac Cappy. Okay, we're gonna have to look at Isaac Cappy.
Cappy. That's
Yeah,
right. Yeah, yeah. Cappy was the man. He was funny even when he was not trying to be funny. When he was talking about all the bad stuff he was doing, he was funny. He's just like, oh, I just fucked up. I can't tell. I just really. Oh yeah. Oh, Tom Hanks is a piece of shit too. Like he had me laughing while I knew it wasn't even. It was serious. So he was.
right.
Yeah, yeah.
I know. It was, yeah, jackets and brackets. Oh my god. It feels like it was so long ago, but like all of us who've been following a lot of this since like maybe 2016 and then really ramped up 2020, it's like a lot of us are really fatigued. But a lot of us need to we need to circle back to some of this stuff because like I said, I believe that Obama, like if let me tell you, if this chef's um unaliving can be directly linked to Barry, because there was a second paddleboarder, and come on, people. They have a lot of weird things going on with the police department, like redacting weird things. So I believe if this would be the thing that could really unravel a lot of things because oh my god, I won't get ahead of myself, but I just want to say those are some of the things I want to put out there on the table. So until next time, I'll leave on this note. If you want to say anything else, Sissy, I want to thank you and Karen. Sorry, Karen, whatever happened with your tech. I know I was sounding like a robot. But I think the stream went a lot better. I did it on my phone today, so I don't know. It was just a little more stable. So what up?
No,
What do you?
no, no. That was that's a great way to end it. Everything is well. I was just reading the comments. I'm like, what? Isaac Cappy was found walking in the Kanika Jenkins like hotel. Like, oh my gosh, like that's crazy. Like, yeah, we got to talk about all that stuff. Like with Tom Hanks with his creepy findings all around the freaking world. Yeah, like these people, we need to start circling back to them.
Yeah, yeah.
Definitely.
We're going to definitely do that because it's going to explain a lot that's going on right now, and I predict that Obama's presidency will be revoked or rescinded or whatever you want. Whatever, it's going to be washed away, and that's going to be very
Definitely.
pivotal.
Definitely.
I do predict that, everyone. You might call me crazy, but I want to see that happen, okay? I really
Hmm.
do. I really do want to see his whole entire 8 years just illegal, thrown out, everything like that he did, like just reversed. We'll see. We'll see. It's just maybe it's a wish of mine, but I want to see it happen because I have a personal vendetta against that man. He did so much damage even to the minds of many of my family members and former friends. Just a sick thing. Just really sick. But I'll leave on that. Thank you all for the late night. We haven't done this in a while. I will keep this up. And thank you, Sissy. Love you. Love you,
You're
Karen. Thank you so
welcome. Love
much.
you too.
I'll
Thank you
catch
so
up.
much for having me. I
You're
appreciate it.
you're so well. I'll catch up with you and Karen.
Yes.
And I just love you all.
I
Thanks for
love you too. You're welcome. It was so great seeing all of you all in the chat. I'm so sorry that I didn't get to kick Sean around a little bit more because, I didn't get a chance to, but I'll get him next time.
yes.
All right, you all have a very, very great, safe weekend. I love you all. Talk to you later.
Take care. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.